Hello, friends. So today I hiked out into the desert with my dogs. This is Oliver, and this is Sparky on my lap. Sparky's 10, and we've had him for about 8.5 years, and then Ollie is 4, and we've had him for 3 years. And these two love hiking and going in the desert with me. We always have a good time. But Sparky's a bit of a scaredy cat, so if he hears something that scares him, he either has to sit on my lap or we have to go H word. H-O-M-E, if you know what I mean. So I hiked out here today because I wanted to talk about a topic about how our emotions are a compass. So this came up for me yesterday because I was just having like a really bad emotional day, and lots of things trigger that, right? Our emotions are a compass because they are telling us which way to go in life. So obviously, if it's like happy and we feel content and we feel like we have purpose, then that means that our emotional compass is pointing us on the right path. And this isn't to say that like other emotions are bad. They're not at all. They're all a part of our human experience, but if you keep having the same sorts of emotions and it's like continuous, it might be time to do like a self-inquiry check, right? So, I don't know, let's say you go to therapy, you go to the doctor, and both of them are like, yeah, there's nothing wrong with you, or, oh, just take this pill, or I don't know, whatever it is. If that isn't working, then it might be time to look at your compass. What is your compass telling you? So I have this tattoo on my wrist. It is of a triskel. I got this while I was in Ireland, and it's to remind me of the balance between mind, body, and spirit. And if any one of those is not balanced, it throws the whole balance of your being off. So a triskel is basically 3 swirls that connect in the middle. So each one is mind, body, and spirit, and then the wholeness of you is in the center. So yesterday I was in this like state where I was having the worst day emotionally ever, and I consider myself to be highly sensitive, introverted, and I have a lot of personal needs that maybe a lot of other people don't have, which is why I've had to sort of form my lifestyle in the way that I live, which is I live very frugally and very cheaply, as cheap as I can. That's still comfortable. And I work with my husband. We started a business, and it works out in a way that if I can't go to work one day, it'll be okay because he can do it on his own. Sometimes I'll wake up and I don't feel well. I have like a migraine or something, or a fever, or whatever, because the way that my body and all that works is through those sorts of ways, and I can't push through all the time. I have to rest when my body demands it, pretty much. And I'm always doing a lot, but there's always a way to figure it out. So, being highly sensitive and introverted, it gets to be a lot sometimes to be out in the world. I used to be able to live pretty isolated from society, and I felt the happiest that way, but it was also very lonely. And I asked Spirit to bring me people into my life that were good for me. So now there's a lot of people in my life, and it is good most of the time, but I get overwhelmed. We have about maybe 100 customers that we serve every year for window cleaning. So every day I have to go to somebody's house and be in their life. And a lot of times they have politics blaring on the TV or something else, and it makes me feel like, oh, like this is gross. I don't want to be in this. So my emotions have been telling me lately that this has all just been too much. And like I need to figure out a better balance. And then I live at this RV park, and all summer it's been very quiet and we haven't had any people around. But all of a sudden, because it is snowbird season, there are people everywhere and they're like crammed and jam-packed, and I feel like I'm gonna explode sometimes. So coming out into this desert is nice and quiet for me and for the dogs. Anyway, I wrote this poem yesterday while I was going through like an existential crisis, and I wrote it for me. I wrote it for somebody that's close to me in my life, and I wrote it for anyone else who needs to hear it right now, because it's so easy to just suppress your emotions and to jam them down and to push through, even though your spirit is screaming at you to change something and like your needs aren't getting met. Before I get into that, back to the Triskel thing. So, okay. Our emotions are a compass for our spirit, right? They're trying to tell us that something is not right with our spirit, and it is how our spirit communicates with us, these emotions. For the mind, the way that our mind communicates with us is through thoughts, and the way that our body communicates through us is through these sensations and disease, or like if you feel good and not fatigued or something. Sometimes it's easier to hear our different areas of life communicating with us when things are going bad, because it's way more noticeable, right? If something is not right, it's way more noticeable if you like feel like shit all the time, or if your emotions and your thoughts keep spiraling in this negative cycle. But if we're feeling good, I mean, obviously we feel good, but we might not notice it as much. Maybe, I don't know, that's my opinion. So with that in context, I can read this poem now to you. It doesn't have a name yet, and it'll probably go in a book later. But here it is. These feelings you try to hide inside will never go away. A pill, an herb, a potion cannot heal your existential pain. These hot mess emotions are a cry from your spirit that something in your life is fundamentally wrong. Yet you force yourself to work that job you hate, live in that house on a busy road, have those blind friends who could never hold you as you hold them. Your spirit is screaming at you with those emotions you keep trying to flush away with TV series or erotic books, that you need to dare to change and travel outside your comfort zone. to move away and try something new, to change the scenery, work in a bookstore instead of under fluorescent lights, turning your skin ghostly white. Encounter other deep souls who know where you've been and would never let you suffer in silence ever again. You see, us highly sensitive introverts were never meant to fit into this broken society. So we mustn't force ourselves to fit into rusty joints, and instead use your watery spirit to create a better way for us all by honoring your spirit's call to jump. So I bring up the comfort zone thing in this poem because oftentimes when your spirit's crying at you, it's asking for you to make a change. If it's like a consistent, long-term cry, or this dull feeling you feel inside, or you have this hole or something, there's something missing that's fundamental to your being, and you gotta figure out what it is. And to do that, you gotta take a leap of faith and go outside of your comfort zone. A good way to do this, or to figure out what that is to sit down with yourself. You can journal. Sometimes I'll record myself with my phone and just have a conversation. It sounds goofy, but it does work. And just explore the feelings that you're having. Go deep into it. Be okay, pretend that you're writing a letter to somebody explaining how you feel, and then read that letter like you're the friend that's gonna help, or talk to yourself. Explore the things that you really want to do in life, but you keep putting off. That's a big indicator of the hole in yourself that you feel. If you're anything like me and you like traveling and you just haven't been able to travel for a long time, start incorporating traveling into your daily life in some way. Like on the weekends, take a day and go on a day trip somewhere new you haven't been. Start putting a little bit of your paycheck into a little fund and save up for a big trip, or just be spontaneous and plan a trip for 4 months out into the future, and then go on that trip wherever it is and just go. Or if you, in the poem, if you're working somewhere and you just can't stand it, then would you consider looking for a new job? There's so many options out there. You could start your own business. And just because you have a degree doesn't mean you have to use it. I have a business degree, and my plan was to start a business, which I sort of did, but I'm cleaning windows for a living, and my college degree didn't do anything to teach me how to do that. I just do it. And then another thing for me too is I am a really creative person, and I love to make things and create things. But there's a whole different element with that too, when you're an artist, with the inner critic. And the inner critic stops me from doing a lot of things. Like this podcast, for instance. It took me a long time to just get started with this. But once you get started, the momentum will carry you. Those were just some little things about this topic, about your emotions are a compass for your spirit. Spirit is so beautiful, and it's not even a religious thing. Spirit is like the feeling you get in your heart when you feel content in yourself. Spirit is literally everywhere around us at all times. It's not religious, it's just a part of being a human being. And our spirit can connect to other spirits, like all this purslane around me. There's just so much purslane because it's been raining out here so much. So, like, people's spirits can connect to plant spirits or animal spirits or spirits of each other, right? We all have a spirit. And then there's like the main source of spirit, which fuels us all. And we can connect to that at any time. So that is another thing that could help with this, like, hard emotions thing, is to try to connect to your spirit or the spirit of the universe, whatever that looks like to you. Or even for me, coming out into nature and spending time with the plants is really good for my spirit, because I think that I could be part plant. Really, I do. I think that I need a lot more sun than the average person. And without the sun, I'm dying a little bit. So, yeah. Plants. Right, so the next time you feel this way, just sit down and, like, actually spend some time with yourself. Actually, like, do what I'm doing and just find somewhere and sit. And talk to yourself or journal or write poetry. Figure out where you are and why you feel the way that you feel. And then the comfort zone thing, we could talk about that on another podcast, because I actually have some little points about that, but it's a whole topic. You can't experience life inside your comfort zone. You can't feel fulfilled with life in your comfort zone. The best teacher that you could ever have are the experiences that you take outside your comfort zone, and then you really start to meet yourself. Oh boy. But yeah, we'll talk about that another time. So, thank you for joining me today on this episode of In the Pursuit of Something Real. I just celebrated the 1-year anniversary of my book, Befriending Shadows. It is a poetry collection sort of about this sort of stuff. There's a lot of topics about our relationships with the internet and social media, and about toxic spirituality. What else? Healing through a time of darkness when, like, literally everyone in your life abandons you. So, there's that. I'll put that down in the description. I'm going to have it on sale for about a month, so it'll be like $5 off or something like that. I would appreciate it if you check it out. Maybe you'd find something in that book that could help with this topic. And I'm working on some other books right now. I have one called Mule that I'm working on. It is another poetry collection, but this one has to do with work, like working and like the demands of society that are unbelievable. So that will be coming out maybe within the next year. And I just came out with a new film called Back to Nature, and it's part of the film series In the Pursuit of Something Real, where we travel the country and explore these topics that I talk about on this podcast. So that one had to do with the sands of time and realizing that the present moment is all there is, and that if you want to experience anything in life, you need to do it now, because the only moment you have is today. So anyway, thanks for joining me. If you want to engage with me about these topics, find me on Substack. And other than that, I'll see you guys later. Sending you love. Bye.